Debbie from Lime Doodle Design, and although Christmas is almost here, today for my Doodling with Debbie feature for STAMPtember, I'm still going to use my Christmas supplies, but changing up the sentiment to create a thank you card. In the modern world of texting and messaging thank yous, I still find that a handmade card goes down a treat to truly express gratitude for a Christmas gift. My card today is based on a design I like and often return to. A collection of circles overlapping one another creates a dynamic design which draws the eye around the card. I decided to watercolour a deeply coloured background to showcase the beautiful Joy snowflake die from STAMPtember. However, this design is also a great way to use up pattern paper scraps too. For my largest die cut circle, I'm going to be stamping one of the Circle Sayings holiday sentiments, and I picked out a nested circle die that would go well with it. And then using this as a guide, I then know how much of the area of my watercolour card I need to paint. I've used a piece of hot press watercolour card taped down to a board, and I'm using a hot press watercolour card as the smooth nature of this card is great for stamping a clean impression. You could stamp and white heat emboss the circle sentiment before painting and let the heat embossing resist the paint. This creates nice puddling of paint around the letters. However, I chose to watercolour my background first and then heat emboss afterwards, as I find to get a cleaner look to the white heat embossing doing it this way round. My paints today are my favourite Daniel Smith watercolours. I'm using a base of quinacridone coral and rose of ultramarine to give a pop of colour, and then painted over it with layers of indigo. Once I'd finished painting the background, I splattered liberally with a solution of Perfect Pearls. This is a scoop of Perfect Pearls powder in a mini mister, shaken up well, and then using the tube from the mister to splatter the sparkly mixture on the background. Once the sparkle was down, I also splattered with white gouache. Being opaque, this paint really shows up against the background. And then I finished off by splattering some more concentrated mixtures of the colours I'd used to paint the background. I think adding all of these splatters can take a rather uninspiring background and take it up a notch, adding lots of interest. I removed the tape around the watercolour card and then placed the card in the mini misty and treated it with a powder tool to help prevent embossing powder randomly sticking to the panel. I popped the circle sentiment on top in preparation for stamping. I then closed the drawer of the misty to adhere the sentiment before stamping it in clear embossing ink. The advantage of a stamp positioner such as the misty is that if your first impression isn't perfect, then you can go back in and stamp it again. I found I'd placed the magnet too close to the stamp, and the thick washi tape I'd wrapped around the magnet to help me lift it was preventing the drawer of the misty closing fully. I moved the magnet away and was then able to stamp the sentiment fully. I sprinkled white embossing powder liberally over the stamped sentiment, and this adheres to the sticky clear embossing ink I'd stamped the sentiment in. I then tapped off any excess before melting the embossing powder with a heat tool. I then aligned the nested circle die around the sentiment and also added a medium and small size nested circle dies as well. I kept the circles in place with washi tape before running them through my die cutting machine. While die cutting, I also cut a Joy snowflake and a wonky rectangle from white card. I arranged the elements roughly where I planned to place them and then added foam adhesive to the back of everything. For the main part of the sentiment, I'm going to be using the Painted Thanks die, and I thought it would be fun to cut it out of toning glitter card. The new glitter card pack from STAMPtember has a huge selection of colours to choose from. I thought the hot pink card brought out the colours of the watercolour, and so I ran the Painted Thanks die through with that colour. I added the white rectangle die cut to the fog card base and then adhered each of the circles in the design. I added each circle with foam adhesive to create dimension, and so the amount of foam adhesive under each circle varied depending on where the elements were overlapping. For example, the middle-sized circle had one layer of foam adhesive, as that was the first element to be added, but the larger circle had a single layer of foam adhesive where it overlapped the middle-sized circle, but 2 layers of foam adhesive over the rest of the area. I added a tiny dot of foam adhesive to the snowflake and placed that on top of the largest circle, and then followed up with a Thanks pink glitter die over the top with more foam adhesive, and this will help to keep the snowflake securely adhered. As a final touch, I added Stamp, Amethyst and Pixie Dust Sequins, and a couple of ones from Neat and Tangled SNOWFALL pack. And that completes this card, stretching my Christmas surprise that little bit further to create a seasonal thank you card. On the Stamp blog, you'll find a coordinating blog post, as well as details of the surprise I've used today. If you want to find me, I blog over at limedoodledesign.com. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.